right, all right. We are back. We are back. We are back. They have started. Prosecution is going over with the witness. But before we get into that and get into that information, y'all, let me, as I was going on the break and looking at seeing what was going on, y'all, guess who showed up for the guess who showed up? Guess who showed up at court today? There was a couple of people that were interesting to me that showed up to the court. So let me share my screen. As you see here, let's see if we could play this. Let's get back to you, because if you can see this, hopefully that y'all can see this. You can't see it because I hadn't added to the stage, child. Here we go. So we have Little Rod, who filed a lawsuit against Diddy right after Cassie did. He has shown up for this case. He's out there. So shout out to Elizabeth Milner with the Law Crime Network. She's definitely taking pictures and being out there. But this is who tickled me, y'all. I thought after Jay-Z we wouldn't see her for a while, but baby, your girl was wrong. Look who's here.
This would have been addressed back then.
We have Jaguar Wright, honey. You know she has her YouTube channel, and baby, she's out there reporting for her YouTube channel.
That happened in the R. Kelly case, because if that had been properly addressed, this would have been addressed back then. These people have been working together, all in cahoots for all of this time, and it needs to all be addressed. I'm glad it's not just me anymore. I'm glad it's someone else. I'm glad there are other people who need to be heard. I'll be sure. I'm glad they're hearing him, Cassie. I'm glad they're hearing her, Kim Porter, through I'll be sure. I'm glad, Natanya Rubin. I'm glad, all of these things. So yeah, it's mixed emotions, but I just know when you pray for something and God answers it, you should be happy. This case.
So y'all, yeah, we got Jaguar Wright up there. And again, like I have said, my criticism about Jaguar Wright is she seems to always be right where things are, but she's like this. I know about this, but my hands are off. And the details that you try to give, that she gives, it just makes me question, like, how do you know all of this stuff? How are you so around all of this stuff? And you didn't say anything. And again, she tells the stories, but we'll continue. So let me do this. Let me get to where I need to be. So before we start, it just says here that there was some objection to some there was some objection to some exhibits being shown. And so they had to have been addressed. I was just trying to find where it is. So let's do this.
One, there was the jury selection, and we'd been covering.
Let's do this. So this is from Inner City Press. I want to bring this back up. We're going to let him speak on this in a minute, and then go over his thing, and then we'll continue.
Covering it last week. All right, here we are, Matthew Russell Lee, Inner City Press. We're here at the break after the opening statements in U.S. versus Sean Combs. It was quite a process. Number one, there was the jury selection, and we'd been covering it last week, and we did sort of an extra you can find on Substack and extra subscribers about a juror that probably should have been stricken for cause. It's a UN staffer that basically works at the Counterterrorism Office, and that would work with U.S. law enforcement, which he then denied. In any event, the opening statements were quite something. Turns out it's a more stripped down case, at least than I thought. The U.S. Attorney Johnson talked about Cassie and Jane, which is a pseudonym, and also a Mia and arson. Now, Tenny Garagos, in her opening statement, said, this is just about private sexual behavior. They don't dispute that Combs can be violent and jealous, but that should never have been a federal case, and that the witnesses are all have their own interests, including filthy lucre, money. So we're going to see how it plays out. Right at the end, after the jury left, Brian Steele, they brought up from Georgia after the Young Thug trial, made some evidentiary objections about the reports about the Intercontinental Hotel lobby, elevator lobby violence. So that should be resolved this afternoon as the witnesses begin, including with some hotel witnesses. So Inner City Press, we're on the case. We're covering other cases too. I just stopped at the Mag Court. A man was released after 2 uses of a gun. Well, one brandishing and one using. Ordered released, but there's been a
All right. So we have heard from Inner City Press. They went over. I do have a little bit more information in regards to, because you remember we had a missing witness, victim 3, and that the prosecution started without her. But it says here, according to the New York Times, is that victim 3 is less critical to the government's case because she's not associated with the 2 major sex trafficking charges Mr. Combs is facing. Her accusations are one small piece of the racketeering conspiracy charge against the defendant. Mr. Combs has been accused of leading a criminal enterprise that facilitated a series of crimes, including sex trafficking, over a 20-year period. So it doesn't look like that. They probably are still looking for this witness, but it probably is not as germane to the case that they would want it to be. It was probably extra. I was interested in what Inner City Press said, that this case was more stripped down than what initially discussed. So I'm wondering if there's been any witnesses, because you know how they say Mr. Combs does. So let's get into this. We're going to go here. Let's see. So it should start here. So it looks like they have LAPD officer Israel Flores. He's been sworn in. He's also a reservist for the Army, was a guard with the Securitas. With securities, or with Securitas. They must have been the agency that did this, that was doing the security for the hotel, Intercontinental Hotel near Century City. And so they asking him what happened on March 5th, 2016. So Flores tells them that he was on the 6th floor. He recognized Sean Combs wearing the gray sweater. Well, they asked him what his title. Maybe I went out of order. I did. Looks like I did. Okay, let's get to this exhibit. He says that the exhibit with the added note, the objection is well taken. It is excluded. Let's get the jury back in. So they were able to exclude one of the exhibits, and the other one was let in. So let's continue. Let's do this. Let's start here because it should go down. Here we go. So they've sworn in LAP officer Israel Flores. He was a guard at the Intercontinental. So I don't know, was he a police officer then, or he was a police officer now and he was a guard then? And it says here, what happened on March 5th, 2016? He says, I was on the 6th floor. He said, there, I recognize Sean Combs. He's there. He's identifying him in court. He says, what was his title? He was the assistant director of security. They're showing him a photo of the Intercontinental Hotel. He says it's shaped like a pyramid. The judge admitted all of this. He says, what kind of incidents? Prosecution asked what kind of incidents did they respond to? Flores stated all kinds of incidents that they were responding to. He talked about some prunings from timeline, all kinds of different reports. What would you attach? Would you attach photos to reports? He says yes, but not video. He said he didn't have the password to the video machine. When did this incident take place? Flores, he says 11 a.m. He got a report of a woman in distress on the 6th floor. I closed the security base and checked the cameras. There was an African-American man pacing back and forth. He said, I didn't see a female. I rushed there. He says, what did you see on the 6th floor? According to Flores, he saw Mr. Combs in a towel with some colored socks. He's a rapper, producer, and Cassie on the floor. And so they show, the prosecution shows him some photos. And let's see, because that was just 58 seconds. So let's try to get this, try to allow them to update as much as they can. And like I said, we're going to be going back and forth from Inner City Press to the New York Times. Okay, so Israel Flores is a Los Angeles police officer who was a security guard at the Intercontinental Hotel in 2016. He's the first person to testify about the assault at the crux of the government's sex trafficking case. He says that March, Combs was caught on security cameras, striking and hitting and kicking Cassandra Ventura after she left their hotel room, where the government says a freak-off had recently taken place. The prosecution is going to be going over the fact that Sean Combs bought the surveillance footage from the hotel security for $100,000, but it has not disappeared for good, because again, we saw that video that was I wanted to CNN purchase it as well. See that video purchased. Did they purchase it? Well, but we saw snippets of that particular video. I have the video, but I'm not fixing to show it because that'll get my channel demonetized. We'll get that video demonetized. So what are y'all thinking about Jaguar Wright showing up? Jaguar Wright showing up was not on my bingo card. I didn't expect her to show. I expected her to be on her YouTube channel talking about it, but I didn't expect for her to show up with her camera crew and her bodyguards going in to see it. Now, I understand that his family is there. Sean Combs' family is there, which I thought that they would be. And I was also, I'm wondering if Dawn Richard, is she going to be called in as a witness? That's going to be interesting to me. But again, victim 3, where all this kerfluffle happened last week because the prosecution couldn't find her. They contacted her lawyer. The lawyer didn't get back to them, or whatever was happening with all of that. Coming to find out, according to the New York Times, is the fact that though she had testified in her deposition of things that happened, I guess the prosecution is saying she's not as germane to the case. I mean, if she comes back and we can interview, we can have her to testify, that's good. But if she doesn't, they're banking on apparently Cassie, Jane Doe, and Mia to kind of give a better insight about what's going on. And right now they have the security officer testifying at this point. All right, here we go. And so it says here that when the security guard Flores got on the floor and approached them, it says that they were arguing, and they They'd have to take it back to their rooms, these rooms, and that the broken vase would be charged to the room. So he's basically telling, hey, y'all are out here putting 20 on 10. Y'all are doing too much. All these things that you all have broken, the way the room is tore up, y'all gonna have to pay for it. Cassie said she wanted her phone in her bag. She said, Flores says that Cassie wanted to leave and that Mr. Combs said that you're not leaving. He said, I saw inside the room. He said, a black male wearing dark clothing. He says, so apparently she must have left because it says here, what did Mr. Combs do after Cassie left? He said, Flores, he said he called for me. He was holding a stack of money and told him not to tell anybody. Mm. So this is probably going to be pretty much this testimony is that the Detective Flores is going back and forth and see with him being a police officer. Now I am curious, was he a police officer then and he just became a police officer? Because if he was a police officer then and he was working, he had a second job as a hotel security and Sean Combs presented him with some money. That's a problem. That is a problem, y'all. That is a problem. And I don't know if y'all are seeing it as a problem like I'm seeing it as a problem, but that is a problem. Is that not a conflict of interest? Lord. Lord, Lord, Lord. Y'all, excuse me. I'm just going through and pulling up information. And as things kind of come out, I'm kind of reporting them as they come through. I'm going to the New York Times, y'all. So it's not telling me if he was a police officer back then, because the reason why I'm hesitating and I'm just trying to read this information is the fact that I am trying to figure out if this police officer was a police officer back in 2016 or did he just become a police officer? Because I'm kind of floored and maybe I'm sticking to this point or sticking to this issue because that's a lot to know that you have a police officer that is now testifying about something that happened then. Ugh. I would be curious as to what the defense is going to say about this. Mm, mm, mm. I pulled up the other a couple of lawsuits where I'm thinking that the people may testify, And again, I don't know of Lil Rod because Little Rod's amended complaint uh and the initial complaint had been lambasted by the judge because he had put some things that he was making statements that were inherently false in those pleadings. So I'm not sure how this is going to go. It sounds like whoever was the one that wrote up this stuff, they need to find somebody who could do a better job at writing that particular lawsuit. All right, so here we go. It says he called. We went off and he said that Mr. Combs called him back. He had a stack of money not to tell anybody. The prosecution asked what he said. He says, "I said I don't want your money. The damage is going to be charged to your room." They asked where did Cassie go? He says, "After I spoke with her, she left. A car pulled up, and she left in the black SUV. Was there a driver?" And I don't know why he would say 7 feet. Flores, he said she wants to leave. I said, I'm talking to her, not you. They left. And then what? We went up to Mr. Combs' room to remind him of hotel rules. He opened the door and grabbed the phone and says, "Are you recording me?" I pinned him to the wall. Ooh. Ooh, so there was a physical exchange. So Mr. Combs, Diddy grabbed the man's phone and he hemmed him up on the wall. Interesting. Now things are getting juicy. Make sure y'all hit that like button wherever it is you're watching me from. If you're watching me on Twitter X, make sure you hit that heart. If you're watching me on YouTube, make sure you hit that like button and consider subscribing, regardless of what platform you're watching me on. Consider subscribing to me on YouTube, and also if you're on Twitch, do whatever it is you do over there. Okay, I don't know, but I'm glad to have you. So let's go back on this testimony. Let's go back and let's back up, and we can get a. So again, they called Officer Flores. He's sworn in. He talks about that he's a reservist for the Army and that he was a guard with Securitas in 2016 at the Intercontinental Hotel near Century City. Now, also, I wanted to remind you all that hotel no longer is here. I don't know if it's under new management. I don't know if the exact building is still there, but the Intercontinental Hotel is no longer in business in California, is no longer in business at that in Central City at that particular area. And so he goes over about what happens on March 5th. And basically what he says is that there was he was notified as security that there was an incident on the 6th floor. He goes up on the 6th floor to see what was going on, and what he saw was that he ran into Diddy in his wrapped up in a towel in the socks. And if you remember from the video, the Cassie video of him assaulting her, he was in some colorful socks. They were bluish, reddish. I don't remember what color they were, and he was wrapped up in a towel. He said that when he got there, they were in the middle of an argument. She was saying that she wanted to leave. Diddy said that they weren't going to leave. The officer noticed that there was a vase and some other things that were destroyed. He was reminding Mr. Combs, hey, y'all going to have to pay for that. He describes that Cassie wanted to leave and that she left in this black SUV. I'm not clear if she left and Diddy left in this black SUV, but he did say that they left. He said that when they went to the room, no, she must have left, because when they went to the room, he said Diddy snatched his phone and he had to hem Diddy up. Oh, wish I had some pictures so I could see this officer and see Diddy doing all this stuff. Did Diddy have security in there at this time? Because Lord knows I couldn't be security with all this mess going on. So he reminds him of the hotel rooms, the hotel rules. He says, "Are you recording me?" He pins him to the wall. And then we are still actively awaiting what's happening after that. And so I am confused about the money. It doesn't seem like they continue to go on about the money. So there's questions being asked of any city press about the money, because we do know that people were paid. Was Mr. Flores paid? Who was paid the money to get the security footage? Who was paid that money? And then whoever was paid that money, where did the security footage come from that CNN was playing? Was this something that was picked up from the raids that happened last year, or was this the security guard who was paid at that time giving that information to CNN? Because at that point the person was paid, probably spent the money, and possibly CNN probably paid him as well. So what do y'all think about this narrative so far? What do you all think about what we've heard so far? Put it down in the comments with me to see who all is here and listening to me. What do y'all think about what's going on so far? Because I have a couple of questions, and again, we've got to wait till the information comes in. And this is why I hate the fact that the feds do not have allow for electronic recordings in the courtroom. Okay. Officer Flores, who was a security guard at the Intercontinental Hotel, is recalling the day he was called about a woman in distress on the 6th floor of the hotel. When he got off the elevator, he says he saw Sean Combs seated with a towel, motionless, but with a devilish stare. Huddled in the corner was Cassandra Ventura, covered by a hoodie. Shards of a broken vase was scattered on the floor. And if you watch that video, you did see him throw that vase. Ventura told him she wanted her bag and she wanted to leave. He says Flores said that Combs offered him a stash of cash, enough that would fit between his thumb and his pinky. He said he understood it to be a bribe. He was telling me, don't tell anybody. So that space between your thumb and your pinky is right here. Is that how much $100,000 is between your thumb and your pinky? Woo, child. This is a mess. Officer Flores reported that as a security guard in the Intercontinental Hotel back in 2016, he said he saw Cassie, who recalled she had a purple eye. She left the hotel in a black SUV. Then he and the hotel's front desk manager went up to Sean Combs' room to remind him of the hotel rules. Flores says Combs grew upset and grabbed the desk manager's phone when he thought the manager was recording him. Flores testified that after Combs grabbed the phone, he pinned Combs to a wall. Makes better sense now. So, because like I said, we heard that who pinned who. So now we understand that Cassie had already left. He had noticed that her eye had been hit, and it was already purpling. So that was a recent hit, and the blood was pooling around the eye. They noticed that. She went home. He had an opportunity to talk with the hotel manager. The hotel manager then went back upstairs with him because they were going to talk to him about what's going on in the room and the rules. When Sean thought that he was being taped, he grabs homeboy. So again, when you start talking about that, and he was talking about giving him this money between about his thumb and his what is it? Let me move these fingers. So money around this thick between your pinky and your thumb. So he was planning on giving him this money. And again, this goes to, these are not legal terms. So what I'm talking about is not legal, but it just gives me, I'm just trying to get this picture in my head, that even with the fact that there's evidence showing that you have assaulted somebody, you still are out here wilding out, grabbing people's phones, not caring in the world, like, hey, you're going to give me that footage. This tells me that this type of behavior has happened before when you're so comfortable with doing all of this. And he is probably, my understanding, he either bought out the floor or bought out most of the rooms over there, because I never could understand. No one heard that commotion and walked and looked and opened the door. So clearly he had to have purchased all the rooms at that hotel at that time, or a good swath of them, because there's no way in the world that you're going to make me believe that people didn't hear all this commotion. And particularly, they were near the elevator. So you should have heard the at least the vase being thrown. So somebody heard it, somebody called. All right, let's see what's going on. Let's refresh. Flores reports that he took photos of the broken vase and told someone to come clean it up, and he went to go write an incident report. Is this it? They have a copy of the incident report with his name on it, and the defense objects to it. And then they asked him, did he review the video? Let's see if the New York Times, because again, he's in there texting away. And the New York Times hasn't updated since 5 minutes ago. Because we haven't heard anything about after he has pinned him to the daggone wall. And so it says the prosecution said that Combs bought the surveillance footage from the hotel security for $100,000. And again, it's not saying that if Flores was the one that took the money for the security, who was the person that bought the footage for $100,000? Was it the hotel manager? Was it the security guard? We're not getting clear information in regards to that. Give me one moment. All right. So, according to CNN, Officer Flores testified he caught up with Cassie as she left the hotel and headed toward the outdoor valet area of the hotel. He says that she had a purple eye. Flores asked her if she wanted him to call the cops, but she repeatedly said that she wanted to leave. So it doesn't seem like he was the police officer at that time. So he offered the opportunity for him to call the cops. and she said that she wanted to leave. After Ventura left, he said he went back to Sean Diddy Combs' room with another guard. Now, New York Times said he went up there with the hotel manager. And CNN is reporting that he went up there with another guard to reiterate the hotel policy. He says Combs stepped into the hallway. They're saying Combs stepped into the hall and closed the hotel room door behind him. Flores says at one point, Combs grabbed the other guard's phone, accusing him of recording the conversation. It says Flores pinned Combs to the wall, he testified, and told him to let go of the phone. Okay. So they were not in the room. They were outside of the room, according to CNN. And this is why it's so important to have this coverage from different places so that you can kind of figure this out. So let me share my screen. All right. So here's what I'm looking at from CNN. Maybe I can make that bigger for y'all. And you see it right here. And this is what we're reading so far. Which is, again, this makes better sense to me because like you're inside of his room because he could have closed the door, grabbed your phone and closed the door. But this makes better sense that they were standing on the outside of the hotel room and all of this was transpiring. So I'm still confused as if it was the hotel manager or was it another officer. And so we'll definitely get some more information on that as we continue on. So in the courtroom, they've shown videos and they asked him, did the videos have any audio? Flores says no. He walks. So then they're just going through. So they're going through that video from the Intercontinental Hotel from 2016. So they're asking who's in the video, who's in the photos. They're talking about what's happening, going on, what's happening. So apparently right now, as they're reviewing the video, she is picking up he identifies Puffy, he identifies Cassie, and then he's narrating what's going on the video. And let's see, there's a new update here. Says here, prosecutions, what is that? Prosecutors using security guard to set the scene and identify Combs at the hotel before video, former prosecutor says. It says prosecutors are working to lay the foundation to eventually show the jury the hotel surveillance footage, and that's what's happening now. It shows that Sean Diddy Combs grabbing, kicking, and dragging his former girlfriend. On the stand is Officer Israel Flores, the security guard who testified that he responded to the call of a woman in distress. Flores can give the jury more context about the video, and that's what they're doing. They're saying that this witness is key because he brings to life what we're about to see on the video. He sets the stage, so to speak. He's also helpful for the jury in the storytelling of how that day the incident unfolded at the hotel. So he's going to go over all of these little types of things. So Officer Israel said that he drafted a report on about 2016 at the incident. He said that he sent the incident report at 3 p.m. because all of this apparently happened in the morning time. He got the call about 11:30 a.m. He sent the incident report in at 3 p.m. local time that day. The report describes the incidents from start to finish and included Combs and Ventura's names. He also included photos showing the broken vase at the elevator lobby and dirt splattered on the walls. In the report, which prosecutors entered into evidence, Flores didn't mention the other man seen in the Diddy Combs hotel room. He says the man wasn't involved in the elevator lobby incident and didn't engage with Combs and Cassie Ventura. So Flores felt the man wasn't relevant to the incident or his report because he said he just saw the man as the door was closing. He didn't know. He knew it was a black man, but he didn't have anything else, and he didn't see him on the video of the incident with Cassie and Puppy. So he was like, I didn't see him do nothing but stand in the room, so I'm not gonna call his name because all he's doing is standing in a room. So this is interesting. So we're looking at so far we're looking at three sources to what's going on with this Cassie trial. We're doing the New York Times, which I'm reviewing on my phone. We're doing CNN Entertainment, which I'm sharing with you as we speak. And we're also doing the Inner City Press, which I am sharing on Twitter, X. But they haven't updated anything. I'm getting more updates on CNN Live and on CNN Live and the New York Times. So let's see if the New York Times has added anything. Again, please hit that like button. Okay. And I'm also reviewing Josh Russell, who is there in the courtroom as well. The jury is now seeing hotel surveillance footage of Sean Combs wearing a towel as he strikes, kicks, and begins to drag Cassandra Ventura down a hotel hallway. This is the clip of the video published by CNN, but it's noticeably slowed down. Combs' lawyers have argued that the published clips were sped up, making the assault look, quote, more violent. So we're watching it. We're watching it in slower time. All right, let me share this tab instead. Yeah, y'all can see it. It says surveillance footage from the hotel altercation played in court. Assistant U.S. Attorney Christy Slavitt plays the surveillance footage from the hotel altercation for the jury. The footage it details what the footage shows. The footage shows Cassie Ventura at the hotel in front of an elevator, putting on a pair of shoes. He kicks her to the ground. Cassie comes back out into the hallway and is seen using a hardwired phone on the wall. And so this may be what triggered the security guard Flores to come up to the 6th floor. The phone she used was connected to the hotel's instant services officer, Flores says. That operating services contacted Flores to respond to the scene. Combs can be seen pacing in the hallway while still wearing a towel. In the reflection of a mirrored wall, Combs throws a vase that shatters. The broken vase and flowers were strewn across the floor when Flores arrived. On the scene, the former security guard said. When asked, Flores testified. Ventura told him that she wanted to get her phone and bag so she can leave, and there is no audio on this video. So this was 2016. So let me so what I'm also doing too is that I'm pulling up the Cassie lawsuit. And I'm trying to see, when did Cassie stop fooling with Diddy? Was it 2019? So they ended their relationship in 2018. And then she got married in 2019. Okay. I'm just trying to find all right. So I wanted to go over what what she put in her lawsuit against Diddy in regards to this incident. Okay. So I'm going to read this information to you all. All right. It says in or about March 2016, during a freak off at the Intercontinental Hotel in Century City, Los Angeles, Mr. Combs became extremely intoxicated and punched Miss Ventura in the face, giving her a black eye. So the black eye that the security guard saw it happened. The incident or the assault happened in the hotel room. After he fell asleep, Miss Ventura tried to leave the hotel room, but as she exited, Mr. Combs awoke and began screaming at Miss Ventura. He followed her into the hallway of the hotel while yelling at her. He grabbed at her and then took a glass vase in the hallway and threw them at her, causing glass to crash around them as she ran to the elevator to escape. She managed to get to the elevator, and when she got to the lobby, quickly took a cab to her apartment. Now it says here she took a cab. The officer says that she got into a black SUV, so that could have been a cab. Was Uber around back then? I think it was, but don't let me tell her. Upon realizing that her running away would cause Mr. Combs to be even angrier with her and completely stuck in his vicious cycle of abuse, Miss Ventura returned to the hotel with the intention of apologizing for running away from her abuser. When she returned, hotel security staff urged her to get back into a cab and go to her apartment, suggesting that they had seen the security footage showing Mr. Combs beating Miss Ventura and throwing glass at her in the hotel. Upon information and belief, Mr. Combs paid Intercontinental Century City $50,000 for the hallway security footage from that entry. So it went from 50,000 to 100, but they saying upon information and belief. After this, Miss Ventura left her home in Comstock and went to hide away at a friend's home in Florida. James Cruz, president of Bad Boy Management, tracked Miss Ventura down and told her that her single would not be released if she did not answer Mr. Combs' calls. As you remember, Cassie is tied into a 10-album deal. So she's still trying to get her music career jumping. Now, incidentally, a year before this is where Michael B. Jordan came in and all of this. So anyway, let's continue what's going on right now. So you have this executive, James Cruz, calling her, telling her, you need to come back because he wants you. Your single won't be released unless you come back. Because apparently this type of stuff has worked in the past. So they're playing that same playbook. A woman who worked at Sony Music reached out to her with a similar ultimatum concerning her record. That's going to be interesting to know who this woman is and if she's going to be someone that's going to testify or not. And earlier it was said that this case has been stripped down a lot. There was a lot of meat and, there was a lot of meat and potatoes and some vegetables and probably some dessert and appetizer. Looks like we're just going to get the basics. So we're going to get some meat and some vegetables in here, and that makes a meal. But it doesn't seem like we're going to get all that the appetizer or all this other stuff. We're just going to the prosecution is really trying to stick real close to all the charges and everything that lays out for those charges, and anything else they're probably not wanting to confuse the jury with all this other fluff. It says here, incredibly, Mr. Combs even convinced one of his attorneys to call Miss Ventura at this time. This lawyer told Miss Ventura that it's in her best interest to call, Mr. Combs back. Wonder who that was. Because you remember earlier, because this team that's representing Diddy at this time, it's a whole new roster of attorneys. Because you had a couple attorneys that decided that they could no longer go on with the case. With one of those attorneys that had been Diddy's attorney for a very long time. Again, I don't know these folks. These are just anything that I say is just my opinion. I don't have any statement in fact. It's all alleged with me, but I'm just making assumptions and guessing. Do you think it was that attorney that decided that he could no longer be an attorney on the case? You remember, when was it? Now, but maybe like 2 or 3 months ago. He had an attorney that decided that he could no longer go on with the case, and everybody was like, well, he was supposed to be running the case, and they thought that the attorneys, they were having problems or anything like that. I should have went back to this filing, because this is interesting that an attorney would call her to tell her that it would be in her best interest to call Mr. Combs back. So the one record executive didn't work. From Bad Boy, it didn't work for you to call. So then you have somebody from Sony to call. With the same ultimatums. That didn't work. So now you've used the attorney to call to say it's in your best interest to call him back. And I'm wondering if they're going to use this as his, they talked about his jealousy and all this other stuff with the opening statements. I wonder if they're going to be using some of this. So it says here each time, and now I'm reading the lawsuit and I'm reading the section that was surrounding this particular thing that Detective Flores is testifying to about the incidents at the Intercontinental. Okay. Each time Miss Ventura tried to run away, Mr. Combs and his powerful network would force her back to him. It says here, Mr. Combs' tight hold over her life had irreparably damaged her friendships. Around 2018, okay, so this is going to a different time. So this is ending what happened with him. So she left, and she left because the security officer told her, hey, don't go back up there. So this may have been Detective Flores that told her, don't go back up there. She doesn't go back up there. She goes to a friend's home in Florida, and she gets 3 calls. According to the lawsuit, she gets a call from James Cruz, who was the president of Bad Boy Management. Then she gets a call from a woman who worked at Sony Music to tell her that her single, basically to tell her what James Cruz told her, that her single wasn't going to come out unless she talked to Puffy. This woman said the same thing with Sony. She couldn't talk to Puffy. If she didn't call or talk to Puffy, she wasn't going to be able to have her single come out. And then lastly, she gets a call from one of Diddy's attorneys that basically told her that if she didn't call Diddy back, it was going to be some problems. All right. Let's see if we've got some updates. We do. So the jury was shown additional footage from the hotel hallway. The jury is being shown footage from the let me share this with y'all. Here we go. And this is reporting from CNN. The jury was shown footage from the north hallway of the sixth floor of the Intercontinental Hotel. The video shows Officer Israel Flores escorting Sean Diddy Combs back to his room, followed by Cassie walking down the hallway after them. Flores testified that Ventura says she wanted to get her phone and her bag. Ventura is seen walking out of the room and down the hall again, later carrying her bag, with Flores following her out shortly after. Officer said he did not call the police after the hotel altercation because no one pressed charges. Officer Israel Flores said he didn't call the police after the incident because he said there was no victim there. Obviously, nobody was pressing charges. He said that when he spoke to Cassie Ventura, she didn't respond to any of his questions. She just said, "I want to leave. I just want to leave," he testified. He also said by the time he saw the surveillance video of the altercation, everyone had left the building. So that makes better sense to me. So he didn't go downstairs and look at the video. He said by the time he saw anything, everybody was gone. And he said that he was called up there at like 11:30 a.m. So by the time he wrote his report and saw the video, that was what, 3:00 p.m. So, according to Inner City Press, it says the prosecution asked, "What did you find when you got there?" Flores says, "The broken vase." Prosecution asked, "What was at the end of this video?" Flores says, "Me coming out of the elevator." And so the prosecution asked to put the incident report back up. And he says, "Here we reminded him that the checkout time was approaching." So I guess checkout was probably anywhere between 11:30 and 1 p.m. because usually, uh, depending on the hotel, because usually the hotel, most hotels, you have to be checked out by 11 o'clock. Some people can extend it to 1 p.m. So the prosecution asked, "What did you add to the incident report after you reviewed the video?" Flores says, "I described what I saw on the video." "What else did you do with the video?" "I recorded 2 videos of it with my iPhone to show my wife at home." Y'all. So let me show you what I'm reading. Uh right here. This right here. This is what I just read to you all. "I recorded 2 videos of it with my iPhone to show my wife at home." What? What? Dear Shauna said, "Bingo, he's the one that leaked it to CNN." And y'all, and maybe this is a moral thing for me. It is, if you could make a recording to show your wife, and if any of us, I'm quite sure millions of Americans at this point has seen that video. I'm side-eyeing you, officer, security guard at the time, because why would that be entertaining for you to go show your wife? That's awful. That's awful. That is awful. But if you could make copies of it to show, because clearly you can see that there was an assault. And clearly it doesn't take the person who's being assaulted or the person who's doing the assaulting to call the police. You as a third party could have called the police. It happens all the time. That's how police are called to different situations, because a third party called, not the person who's being assaulted and not the person who's doing the assaulting. In my opinion, again, because I don't know these folks, I don't know what the policies and the procedures of the Intercontinental Hotel in Century City back in 2016 was. But clearly, if you wanted to cover yourself, somebody should have called the police. That's true. That is true. But I also look at it the fact that a lot of this could have been, it's a moral and ethical thing for me. I mean, he probably wasn't under any legal obligation to do it. Because I'm quite sure, I believe, I don't have evidence to show, but I believe that he was the one that sent that information into CNN. I believe it. I don't have proof. We're going to see what they say in regards to it, but I believe that he was the one to do it. But still, I'm just sitting here thinking, you could have called it in anonymously, and you could have explained or gone in and explained the information, and particularly when you, now that you are a police officer. I am curious what the statutes of limitations on the assault. And y'all, I have on green screen on my shirt, so you'll see me. You see how right up in here, no, right up in here, I'm disappearing. But let's continue, y'all. That just floored me. Okay. Flores video of the video with his voiceover, including about how shiny his shoes were, is played for the jury. Oh, so while he was recording it, he was speaking. Okay. Okay. Did you work the next day? He says, no, I had the next 2 days off. When you came back in, did you look for the video? He says, I did, but it was gone. Did you ever see it again? He said, yes, recently. And they have nothing further. And so the defense is cross-examining him. So we looks like we have Brian Steele doing the cross-examination. He says you said your report was the 5 W's, right? Flores, yes. I don't know what the 5 W's mean. What does that mean? It says here, Brian Steele. Now, if you're not familiar with Brian Steele was the attorney for Young Thug in the Young Thug trial, RICO trial back in Atlanta. That trial lasted 5,863 days. Anyway, when you got off, he says, you mentioned that when you got off the elevator at 11:14 or 11:15, you described Mr. Combs as having a devilish expression on his face. And Flores says, that's my opinion. When you got off the elevator, what was in your hand? Flores said his radio. Mr. Steele, Mr. Combs did not attack you, did he? Flores, no. And was there any law enforcement involvement? Flores says no. You videoed for your wife and kept it, right? Flores says, I did. But never was law enforcement called. They were not. Got some updates. Let's see. Says here the jury is watching surveillance video that Officer Flores recorded on his cell phone. This footage shows then security guard Flores stepping off the elevator and speaking with Cassie Ventura and Sean Diddy Combs in the elevator lobby. Flores testified he was talking to them about the damage. The video then shows Cassie walking down the hall while Flores and Combs stayed in the elevator lobby. Flores testified that he recorded the footage on his phone because he thought his wife wouldn't believe him if she didn't see it for herself. You know, I'm still side-eyeing. That whole thing, I'm still side-eyeing. But let's continue. And so this is what I've recently read. And then defense begins cross-examination of Flores. Prosecution has wrapped up the direct examination of Israel Flores. Defense attorney Brian Steele is now cross-examining him. Let's see if the New York Times. All right. It says much of the public will be familiar with the footage of Sean Combs assaulting Cassandra Ventura. True. The jury saw photos of the aftermath of the assault, including a broken vase and dirt splattered on the wall. Officer Israel Flores of the Los Angeles Police Department, who was then working security at the hotel, testified that he did not call the police because Ventura wasn't answering his questions and insisted that she just wanted to leave. And this is where we got that he said, like, oh, there is no victim because she wouldn't report anything. The jury also saw new footage of the aftermath of the assault. It is secondhand footage. Officer Flores recorded the hotel video on his cell phone. And then Officer Flores reported, according to Inner City Press, is that he was off the next couple of days, and when he came back, he was going to look again for the footage, and the footage had been erased. And as Blue Queen TV has says, I mean, if he didn't do it, we wouldn't have the video because the original video was destroyed by the hotel. Which is facts. I can't argue that. I'm still stuck on. You showed your wife the video, but because we don't even know when. Do we know when Sean presented Puffy presented the hotel with the money? So that who he presented the money to, so that footage would be erased. Interesting. Y'all make sure you all are hitting that like button. It looks like I have like 129 of you all watching. I'm really appreciative that you all are watching and going over this information with me as we go, and as my thoughts go through, are cycling through. And if you all have any thoughts or concerns or anything like that, y'all type it in there so we can have a good discourse about what's going on as we wait for new information to pull in. And let's do this because I didn't notice this. Oh no, sorry y'all. We got a new update. And then their update is just talking about his hold on, y'all. I want to see if I could show you this. It doesn't look like it's coming up. I guess because I have the green screen on. Let me see if I can make a copy of it. Give me one moment. I'm just trying to transfer something real quick. Give me one moment. I'm going to show this picture real quick. So here is this is via CNN. Here is here is a still shot of after he took, because you remember when they got to the because there he is in his little colorful socks. You remember when they got to she got to the elevator, he took her stuff. After he had assaulted her, he took her stuff. So this is another image of that, showing that he had her stuff, because you can see it in his hand right in here. You can definitely see it in his hand that he had her stuff and she was still cowering thing. Now, I don't want to have to, let me see. I'm going to see if I can make it bigger. All right. I made it just a little bit bigger because I was trying to see her face, and you can kind of see, I don't know if it's this right here. I don't know if it's the other eye, but you can see where her face is, looks a little bruised up. So definitely and if you're hearing a little whirring in the mic, I have my fan on, and so that may pick up, especially if I put it down there. I'm gonna put it somewhere up here in a minute. But you may hear that whirring, and I do apologize for that, but it's hot in the room that I'm in right now. There. Hoping that helps and it keeps it on. So we are seeing that. So let me stop sharing my screen. And let's get back to Inner City. See if there's any more updates. And I don't know why I thought that this happened. All of this was happening in the evening, but this is happening in the morning time. So they the freak off must have happened all night. And then she got up. He went to sleep, and then she got up and tried to tiptoe out of there. All right. It says here, Brian Steele asks, you told the jury Mr. Combs said to Cassie, you're not leaving. But your report did not say that, right? Flores, at that point, I did not believe it was a significant fact. I'm not going to put down the back and forth. Steele, so it wasn't important 9 years ago, but only now. Prosecution objection. Overruled. Flores says, I did not put in the report at that time. Steele says, you said that you were offered a bribe, but hadn't you told him he had to pay for the vase? Yes. The gentleman you say, let me make sure there's nothing. Okay. I'm just checking to make sure there was nothing because I see that there's 7. Are y'all following me? Nope. Sorry. The gentleman you say you saw in the room, you described to the jury things not into your report. Flores says he did not engage. Steele, why didn't you ask him his name? Flores, he wasn't talking to no one. Did you tell anyone at the time? No. So they're still going back on this man that was in the hotel room. So then they ask, and the 7-foot driver, do you know who it was? Flores says, 7-foot driver? I don't know, but Cassie knew him. Steele, you didn't put in your report that you offered to call law enforcement, but she refused. Why not? Flores, she said no, there was no reason to include it. And this is interesting. So this response right here by MZ says, as a hotelier, I can confirm that it's not the responsibility of the security to discuss payment for damages. Their role is to take a report and contact the LAPD. Housekeeping reports any damaged items to the front office, which then charges the guest's account for the damages. Interesting. Because I guess my question is that, as security, regardless, you're acting as a quasi law enforcement type thing. Now, I do understand, again, because I don't know what the rules and regulations of the Intercontinental Hotel going on over there. I don't know what their rules and their regulations are. But it is interesting that when he wrote up that report, there were things that were not there. Now, again, I don't know what this 5W report that Brian Steele was alluding to. Who, what, when, where? Yeah, who, what, when, where, and why. 5Ws. It's long. I'm long, but I'm going to find it out when I need to. So who, what, when, where, and why. And so in that whole situation, he was supposed to put who, the what happened, when it happened, the where it happened, and the why it happened, and then add the little sub thing, because I don't see a problem or issue about putting that you saw some damages, because you take pictures of it. That's what you saw. Because sure, the question is going to be asked, well, did you see the damages? Yes, I took pictures of the damages. He didn't talk to the man in black in the hotel room. I would make thing, I made it, I noticed the man was there, but I did not talk to him because Mr. Combs came out of the room. He shut the door. We were talking there. He grabbed the man's phone. Yada, 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 yada. No, I didn't go back and talk. I just let him know when Cassie went downstairs and then she came back. Now, according to her lawsuit, she said she came back. They haven't mentioned anything about her coming back. But according to her lawsuit, she said that she came back and that the hotel security told her, no, you need to go on about your business. So we haven't mentioned that fact, and they haven't talked to him about that fact as of yet. But at some point, LAPD could have been called. In my moral opinion and ethical opinion, they should have been called. They should have been called that morning. So before he got off his shift, they should have called LAPD. So then they could have come and they could have seen the video. Even if somebody got paid. Because again, he made a video off his phone. So he already had a copy of the video, even if the hotel would have scrubbed it. But I don't think they scrubbed it right before they my personal opinion. I don't think they scrubbed it before he left up out of there. All right, let's continue. Defense asked officer why he didn't note. This is coming from CNN Entertainment. Defense asked officer why he didn't note Combs' facial expression in an incident report. Defense attorney Brian Steele is asking Officer Israel Flores about his testimony from earlier today, in which the officer described Sean Diddy Combs as having a devilish and scary look on his face following the 2016 hotel altercation. Steele questioned why the description wasn't in the incident report he wrote at the time. They're quoting him saying, "It was my opinion then and now," Flores testified. He also said that he felt it wasn't relevant for the report. Steele pointed out that Flores' report didn't include anything about Cassie Ventura having a discolored eye. Flores testified to his knowledge, nobody alerted law enforcement to come out or to investigate the incident. Officer testified that wad of cash that Combs offered him was definitely a bribe. Officer Israel Flores testified earlier that Sean Diddy Combs offered him a, quote, stack of cash as a bribe following the 2016 hotel altercation. Defense attorney Brian Steele noted that Flores had told Combs that he would have to pay for the hotel damages. He again asked Flores if he believed Combs was offering him the money as a bribe, and Flores said, definitely. Because there was no way I don't think security is set up to take money from a guest at any point. I'm quite sure that there is no policy on board where a security guard is to take money for damages or anything like that. As we read with MZ down here, as a hotelier, I can confirm that is not the responsibility of security to discuss payment for damages. Their role is to take a report and contact the LAPD. Housekeeping reports any damaged items to the front office, which then charges the guest account for damages. So there would be no need for him to take any type of money. So I would consider that to be a bribe within itself, because who gives a security guard money for damages at a hotel? Because once they checked out and once they realized that the room was torn up and that the vase and stuff like that was all across the wall and they had doing thing again. Now, the vase incident, I don't see an issue with him recording the vase incident because you wouldn't know who did it. And he was there, he saw it. You would have known after you've seen the videotape. But the damage to the room, according to what we had earlier reports, that there was a lot of damage to the room. And again, that would have been charged to Diddy's credit card. If he did really thought that he was paying for the damages to the room, everyone knows you pay at the front desk. Or they bill you. Yeah, you definitely, yeah, it was in my opinion, it was intended as a bribe because again, why are you giving the security guard money? Because if I'm the security guard and you hand me a wad of money, and nobody saw you give me the money, nothing happened. You can go you can talk it because it's cash. Nobody saw me take no money from you. I didn't have any money from you. But this is something that, according to what I'm reading in Cassie's lawsuit, these types of things happen all the time. So I'm quite sure that he had, I'm not sure. Let me hush. I would assume or guesstimate that you're doing these types of things and you're in hotel rooms doing these types of things, that there was some kind of contingency. Hey, we'll pay for any damages that happened to da 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 da. And him being who he was, you're quite sure that hotels were like, okay, hey, 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 hey. Yeah, I'm not saying that it didn't happen, but I'm just unsure as to. My head is still being wrapped around the fact that the police weren't called at any time. So apparently, Pam, this is probably why he was at the Intercontinental Hotel. I would be interested if they had any records, but probably we won't ever know because, like I said, the Intercontinental Hotel in Century City, Los Angeles, is no longer the Intercontinental Hotel, so it's under new management, or even if it's still standing. So we'll never know if they had charges or anything like that, unless they go back through credit cards. But we won't know if there was charges or anything like that showing that he has paid for room damages at that hotel before, because it seems like he was very comfortable doing it. All right, hold on. This is CNN with their update. Defense attorney questions then security guard about incident report. Defense attorney Brian Steele questions Officer Israel Flores about why he didn't mention seeing another man in Sean Diddy Combs' room in the incident report. Flores, who was the assistant director of security at the Intercontinental Hotel in 2016, acknowledged that he didn't address the man at the time to ask him for his name or her perspective. His name? Or maybe they meant his perspective of the situation, or review the surveillance footage to look for the man's movements. Flores testified that he didn't think it was relevant to report, but was still memorable enough that he recalls it now 9 years later. Earlier, Flores told prosecutors that the man wasn't involved in the elevator lobby incident. I apologize. I have to be more vigilant to make sure that you all are seeing what I see. Earlier, Flores told prosecutors the man wasn't involved in the elevator lobby incident and didn't engage with Combs and Cassie Ventura. So he felt the man wasn't relevant to the incident or his report. Prosecutors likely will call expert witnesses to testify about the victim's behavior, legal analyst says. So this is their legal analyst talking. It says prosecutors are likely to call expert witnesses to the stand to testify about the behavior of victims in abusive or coercive relationships. On the stand today, Officer Israel Flores, a security guard who responded to the altercation between Sean Diddy Combs and his former girlfriend Cassie at the hotel in 2016, testified that he didn't call the police because no one pressed charges. He said that when he spoke to Ventura, she didn't respond to any of his questions and just said, I want to leave. I just want to leave. Expert witnesses for the prosecution will likely give psychological testimony about how victims typically behave in these kinds of coercive relationships. Let's see. Yeah, so this is expert. So we've got another update. So let's see what's going on. So the defense wrapped up their cross-examination of Flores. Let's see. Steve Bryan still finished his cross-examination. We've got a new update. Come on. Okay, well, let's go back. Earlier today, Officer Flores testified that he pinned Sean Diddy Combs to the wall after Combs had grabbed another security guard's phone, accusing him of recording their conversation. Defense attorney Bryan pointed out that the incident report Flores filed Says Flores grabbed his hand and told him to back off, but it does not detail him pushing Combs against the wall. So they're going back to the all the different points. They are let's see. All right, so let's go in back to Inner City Press. We're right here. So this is still Brian Steele doing the cross examination. Steele, you said you put Mr. Combs against the wall. That's aggressive, isn't it? Flores, it could be, but I only put my forearm against his chest. Steele, but you didn't put that in your report. Flores, you're asking me to have put more detail in my report. Let's see. Let's go here just to make sure we're not missing anything. Okay. Says Steele, do you remember the layout? Flores, no, just a corner room. Steele, was it a normal hotel room like I would stay in, just one room, or did it have a living room? Flores, I don't know. Steele, the third party you said he was on a bed. Flores, it was a pullout. Steele, you were in the hospitality business as well as security, right? Flores, yes. Steele, Mr. Combs, it was clear to you that he wanted to pay for the damage, right? Prosecution said objection, calls for speculation. The judge tells him to ask it in a different way. Let's see if anything like that happened. When he offered you money, what did he say? Flores, that he didn't want anyone to know about it, pretty much. So this must be a redirect. Yes. One moment, nothing further. Judge redirect. Prosecution came back. Do you typically include every single detail in a report? Flores says no. Prosecution asks, did he seem drunk or high? Flores says no. Prosecution says, when he offered you money, what did he say? Flores, that he did not want anyone to know about it, pretty much. Prosecution, which way Mr. Combs was dragging Cassie? Flores, back towards the room. Prosecution, nothing further. The judge says recross. Steele says there are motion sensitive cameras, so there are gaps, right? Flores says yes. Steele says nothing further. So next witness, the prosecution said, what did Miss Ventura pay you for? Witness. Oh, so there's a new witness. They didn't say who this was, so we need to figure out who this new witness is. Let's see. Yeah, they haven't come up with who the new witness is. Let's go to so we're on to a new witness, but we don't know who this new witness is. I guess it's it sounds like, according from what we're looking at the testimony from Inner City Press, it looks like, in my opinion, that they're talking to the person who possibly was in the freak off. All right, so let's get into it. Says Judge recross, flow nothing further. Judge, next witness. So it looks like Prosecutor Comey is interviewing this witness. We don't have a name or information of who this person was, but they go in to say, what did Miss Ventura pay you for? Witness, to have sex with her Combs was there too. Witness. My boss called me and said he couldn't find any of our black dancers, so I can go to a bachelorette party in Gramercy Park Hotel in downtown Manhattan. What did you expect to do? Witness, a little stripper dance. So we've gone past the Intercontinental Hotel incident, and we're going to looks like what happened in New York City. So this is what we'll do. So there is an incident in the there's an incident being spoken at 2013 about an Intercontinental Hotel in New York City, in which Mr. Combs, okay, it says here on one occasion around 2013, Mr. Combs had a freak off set up at the Intercontinental Hotel in New York City, after which he was charged with tens of thousands of dollars in damage by the hotel. Upon information and belief, Mr. Combs' chief of staff, Tony Fletcher, paid the invoice charged by the hotel. Miss Ventura was eventually instructed to use website sites and escort services to find male sex workers to participate in the freak off. Here's what I'm reading. So let's start back again. So on one occasion around 2013, Mr. Combs had a set up a freak off at the Intercontinental Hotel in New York City. So Intercontinental Hotel is seems to be his hotel of choice. After which he was charged with tens of thousands of dollars in damages by the hotel. Upon information and belief, Mr. Combs' chief of staff, Tony Fletcher, paid the invoice charged by the hotel. Ms. Ventura was eventually instructed to use websites and escort services to find male sex workers to participate in the freak-offs. Mr. Combs told Ms. Ventura to search for, I'm just going to highlight it, y'all. I ain't going to say it. Sometimes Mr. Combs would pay to fly male sex workers to his location, including to multiple cities in the United States as well as abroad. This is what triggered. He required Miss Ventura and his staff to help him make these arrangements. This is what triggered the feds, in my opinion. Mr. Combs' assistants would help to set up the freak-offs, including by setting up the hotel suites with baby oil and Astroglide. Yep. This is what the prosecution is saying. This is, I think, what triggered the prosecution. And so as we go back to inner city press's coverage, they may have moved on to a totally different incident. Yeah, because they haven't told us who this witness was, who witness is. Let's see if okay, prosecutors have called here we go, y'all. Prosecutors have called their second witness, Daniel Phillips. Philip testified that around 2012 and 2013, I love it when I'm keeping up with what's going on with this lawsuit in here, and I'm telling you, This is what triggered the feds, and I'm gonna read what we had in the lawsuit that Cassie filed. Sometimes Mr. Combs would pay to fly male sex workers to his location, including to multiple cities in the United States as well as abroad. He required Miss Ventura and his staff to help him make these arrangements. Mr. Combs' assistant would help him set up the freak-offs, including setting up the hotel suites with baby oil and Astroglide. So let's see what they say here in CNN. Phillips testified that around 2012 and 2013, he was managing a male review show. He described his role as managing male strippers for women. Sometime around 2012, he received money from Cassie Ventura to have sex with her. He testified. He said Sean Diddy Combs was also present. Phillips said his boss asked him to go to Gramercy Park Hotel for a bachelorette party, and he thought he was just going to do a little striptease. But when he arrived at the hotel around midnight, Ventura was the only one standing in the doorway. Let's read. Let me continue. Hold on. Let me stop sharing this. Let's go here. Uh-oh, it didn't show. Because, see, we're keeping up. We are keeping up. Here we are in the lawsuit. It says, Mr. Combs always supplied Miss Ventura and the sex worker with copious amounts of drugs before and during the freak-offs. Miss Ventura was giving ecstasy, cocaine, GHB, ketamine, marijuana, and alcohol in excessive amounts during freak-offs, which allowed her to disassociate during these horrific encounters. It became commonplace to get IV fluids in the days after the freak-offs to recover from the excessive substances pushed upon her. Miss Ventura was required to dress up in lingerie for a freak off, and Mr. Combs insisted she wear white nail polish to contrast her nails with the skin of the black men he hired to have sex with her. Now, why is that important that I read that? Because this looks like what they're getting they're getting ready, they're gearing up to talk about. Because again, he says he was there to do a little striptease, and she was the only one standing there in the thing. I think that because this testimony seems to be lining up with the testimony with the information given in the lawsuit filed by Cassie. So the second witness is Daniel Phillip. All right. So according to Inner City Press, here we go. We're reading right here. Because remember, we read that information at in the lawsuit. So here we have the male dancer. She was in the hotel room in a red wig, stockings, and sunglasses. She gave me a few $100s. Prosecution. What was the room like? Male dancer, red couches, Astroglide, and lubricant. There was a man on the right side of the room. The man had on a white robe and a bandana over his face, below his eyes, and a baseball cap. From his voice, I recognized him as Sean Combs. Let me go back up so that you all can see right here. She was in a hotel room with a red wig, stockings, and sunglasses. And he describes the Astroglide. The Astroglide was discussed in Cassie's lawsuit. And this incident happened around 2013, according to Cassie's lawsuit. He says 2012, 2013. In describing Sean Combs in that room, the man had on a white robe and a bandana over his face below his eyes. So that so he had his face covered from here. All you saw was his eyes. And all of this right here was covered. My gosh, today. My gosh. And a baseball cap. From his voice, I recognized him as Sean Combs. Uh, Prosecutor Comey says, what did he say? Male dancer, that he was into importing and exporting. The male dancer said he was having problems with my boss, and the defense said objection. Comey says, I'll get back to that. After the sex was over, what happened? Male dancer, Cassie gave me a couple of $1,000s more. Male dancer, he said to give them my phone number. I did. Cassie called me and asked for a photo. And then what? Male dancer, she called me to go back. I did for a few hours and then a few times after that. Combs always present? Male dancer says yes. So let's see if there's an update over here on CNN. Yeah, there's no update. So what are y'all thinking so far? Because we haven't gotten to the point of one of the male escorts being called to go from one city to another. It looks like this particular person was still in the same city. Let's see. Okay, so let's see. Okay, the prosecution's second witness. Now, this is what I'm reading off my phone. The prosecution, this is from the New York Times. The prosecution's second witness is Daniel Phillips, who said that he once managed a male review show, which he calls a strip show for women. He testified that in 2012, he was paid by Cassandra Ventura for sex in the presence of Sean Combs. Phillips, the prosecution's second witness, said that he was invited to a suite at the Gramercy Park Hotel in Manhattan by Cassandra Ventura, who said she wanted to do something special with her husband. Phillips said he couldn't tell at first who her husband was, but that he recognized the voice immediately as Combs. Daniel Phillips, the prosecution's second witness, testified that Cassandra Ventura gave him a few $1,000s and said that she would tip him at the end of the encounter. He said that Sean Combs was wearing a white robe with a bandana over his face and a baseball cap. The music mogul said he was in the importing and exporting business while Phillips had sex with Ventura. He said Combs was sitting in the corner masturbating. Interesting. Now, according to, so we're going to get back into, we're going to go back and get into the, Cassie's lawsuit. So it says here, this is supposed to be the continuation of this 2013 incident. It says here, We just talked about Miss Ventura was required to dress up in lingerie for a freak off, and Mr. Combs insisted she wear white nail polish to contrast her nails with the skin of the black men he hired to have sex with her. During the freak off, Mr. Combs would instruct Miss Ventura to pour excessive amounts of oil over herself. Mr. Combs then instruct Miss Ventura and the sex worker, to speak to each other, and then would specifically tell Miss Ventura where to touch the workers. Mr. Combs would say things like, grab the BBC and ask her how does it feel, as he directed her to perform for him. During the free calls, in addition to directing Miss Ventura and masturbating, Mr. Combs would use his phone, laptop, and tablet to film Miss Ventura having sex with the hired sex worker. So he was over there literally creating his own personal porn. He treated the forced encounters as a personal art project, adjusting the candles he used for lighting to frame the videos he took. He was basically recording porn. While Miss Ventura quickly deleted any photographs or video of sex acts if they were taken on her phone, Mr. Combs repeatedly made clear that he retained many videos of Miss Ventura during the freak offs. Even when she deleted the videos, Mr. Combs would tell Miss Ventura that he was able to recover deleted videos from her device. On one occasion, he sat next to her on a flight and made her watch a video she thought she had deleted, reinforcing her inability to escape the immense power he held over her. All right, so let me read this. We've got an update. It's pretty much the same information that is said over here, but there's a couple of pieces of information that I don't want us to miss. All right. Witness says he was paid to have sex with Ventura. Daniel Phillips testified that he went to Gramercy Park Hotel expecting to perform for a bachelorette party, but when he arrived, Cassie Ventura was alone. When I arrived, Cassie opened the door and she asked me if it was okay if it was just going to be us, he said, noting that she was wearing a red lace lingerie outfit with high heels, a red wig, and dark sunglasses. Now, I'm wondering, was the slap happening before or after this? According to Philip Ventura, it was Ventura said it was her birthday and her husband wanted to do something special for her. So she asked me if I would mind rubbing baby oil on her and giving her a massage. And wherever things went from there, it went based on how comfortable it was, he testified. Ventura gave him a few $1,000s, he said, and she said that she would tip him at the end. Phillips said a man was sitting in the room, and we have described this with the bandana covering his face and a baseball cap. And he said he immediately recognized the man's voice as Diddy's, and even though Combs didn't truthfully identify himself at the time. Ventura also told Phillips at the time that her husband wasn't gay and wouldn't try to touch him. Phillips testified. Phillips said that he had sex with Ventura while Combs was sitting in the corner masturbating. Combs gave him a couple of $1,000s more before he left. Sure. Y'all. And we haven't even gotten into the defenses. We haven't gotten to the cross examination yet. But again, what's in the lawsuit is what I see that the prosecution is pulling their information from. So we will see. Because I am interested in the going state by state different things. So did who I guess the testimony from the sex workers that went from state to state is who I'm interested in hearing from. We're just hearing from uh excuse me. So there was a freak off in Los Angeles. Was the freak off in Los Angeles the same as was the person in the freak off in Los Angeles the same person who was in the freak off in New York? Because you heard the defense was asking the security guard, did he get the person's name that was in the thing? The security guard said no, it wasn't. At that time, I didn't deem it to be important because again, the door was closed and he didn't see him. So I'm wondering is will the prosecution try to show that these two were the same persons, or is it that they're just several different people? We'll figure that out as they continue. Let me see, what time is it? So it's about 3:39 in New York. So they probably have another I don't know if they go straight to 5 o'clock or do they stop maybe at 3:30. Let me see if New York Times they've got some updates. Okay, says here Phillips, the prosecution's second witness, says that after he left the encounter with Cassie Ventura and Sean Combs at the Gramercy Park Hotel, she texted him and he returned for more sex with her, with Combs masturbating in the corner of the room. He said that over the next year or two, he returned to have similar encounters with Ventura with Combs, watching in a series of hotels in New York, as well as in Combs and Ventura home in the city. So they were still in the state of New York when all of this was happening. And this is 2012, 2013. Daniel Phillips, the prosecution's second witness, recalls Sean giving specific directions on how he should have sex with Cassie Ventura. The notes included applying more baby oil, and I went over that in the lawsuit that's what was there. The notes included more baby oil into the body, and once trying to role play as that they had just met in the airport. The New York Times says it's day one of the trial, and already the jury is hearing extremely explicit testimony from a man who said he was paid to have sex with Cassie Ventura in front of Sean Combs. Jurors was asked if they could listen to this kind of graphic testimony, and multiple candidates were struck from the pool when they said that they could not. So all of these people are down for hearing this, but again, we haven't heard as of yet the workers that they transported from state to state. Because again, we heard about the 2016 incident in California at the Intercontinental Hotel in 2016, March of 2016. Daniel Phillips is on the stand right now describing incidents that happened between 2012 and 2013 at the Gramercy Park Hotel in New York City, and saying that he had several encounters in New York City with them, being paid for those encounters, and also being paid to do those encounters in homes and apartments that were shared by uh, Sean Combs and Cassie Ventura in New York City. All right. So we've got an update from Inner City Press. All right. Let me make sure you all are seeing what I see. Let's see what this edition before we go. Okay, so they're just they're recapping. Let's get over here. All right, here we go. Uh he said to give them my phone number. I did. Cassie called me and asked for a photo. Then what? She called me back. She called me to go back. I did for a few hours and then a few times after that. Combs always present. Witness says yes. Prosecution, any other locations? Male dancer. Essex House, his resident on 56th Street, I believe 210 at the time, and at her residence on West End Avenue, I think number 10. What names were you to say you were there to see? Male dancer, black. Male dancer, I would send her vulgar text messages. Prosecution, like what? Male dancer, you want me to say it? Prosecution, give me an example. I text, I want to F you right now. How often did you use baby oil? Male dancer, every time. So they was all glistening and shined up. Male dancer. Sean Combs said we didn't have enough baby oil on. He says, y'all slow down, separate from each other. One time he tried to have us role play like we just met at an airport. We weren't good, so we skipped that. What directions that Mr. Combs give you? This is the prosecution. Male dancer. He tell me to step off and back off. Prosecution. Ask, how many times, if any, were you told to urinate on Miss Ventura? Defense, Xavier Donaldson. Objection, suggestive. Judge overruled. Ooh, child. Not the golden showers. Ooh, not the golden showers. I wasn't ready. I was not ready. Ooh, I wasn't ready for that. I was not ready for that. Man, I bet you that courtroom erupted because I wasn't ready for that. I had to stop. Ooh, okay. Let's get to it. Let's get back to it. Let's see if there's anything else in this. Uh-oh, I done missed something. I done got out of here. Let's see. Here we go. Male dancer. They told me not to do it at all at once. Defense objection to him saying they. Judge, I've got it. Prosecution. What happened afterward? Male dancer. They leave me waiting for hours. The whole thing might go on for 10 hours. Male dancer. They were headed to the Essex Hotel. They said to go in 30 minutes. It was the first time he opened the door as himself, dressed in a suit, no mask. Comey, how did things change? Male dancer. He didn't feel Combs, Donaldson, the defense objection. I ain't gonna hold y'all. I wasn't ready for the golden showers to come up so quickly. I wasn't ready. I wasn't ready. the role playing, the role playing, the baby oil, all of that. I just wasn't ready for that. So let's see what's going on. Let's see if New York is updated. They haven't updated. Let's see if CNN has updated. No, they haven't updated too much. And he might be the last witness for the day because again, it's almost 4 o'clock there. Child, I wasn't ready for the golden showers. I ain't gonna hold you. So we're hearing, we're hearing they have a very vivid and a very vivid sex life, and this vivid sex life devolves into violence. Uh, this vivid sex life has other people are entering into the bedroom itself. They're hiring people to do this. We're also learning that there are pictures being taken, videos being produced. So far, we've heard about the violence from the freak off in Los Angeles in 2016. And now we're hearing about the freak offs that happened in New York City between 2012 and 2013. They are being very vivid in describing the things that are happening within those freak offs, including the role playing, including the lingerie, including the baby oil. And that baby oil is taking front and center. We're also understanding that there were copious amounts of different drugs. There were copious amounts of baby oil and Astroglide. There was copious amounts of alcohol. Now, we do remember that when a lot of this kind of kicked off, that drug mule was arrested at the airport in Florida. When was this? This was right before, this was a few months before September because they arrested him in September. So we had the drug mule. So that had to be like March or April. That was arrested at the excuse me, private plane because he had drugs on him. And if I am remembering, it was the ecstasy and the I think it was some pills. They said they weren't very descriptive about what pills they were, but there was some pills, and then there was I think some marijuana because they were going on a private plane with it. So we do know, and I think that I believe that this particular the person that they arrested, I believe he's going to testify about the drugs and about when and where the drugs were going and how he would transport those drugs for Sean Diddy Combs. Hold on, y'all. Let me get this back on for y'all. All right. Here we go. It says here, uh, prosecution asks, who, if any, recorded? Male dancer. Mr. Combs with a cell phone and camcorder. He took a photo of my driver's license for assurance, he said. Uh, Defense, objection. Judge, focus it. Prosecution, what did you understand? He was threatening me. Let me make sure there's nothing else beside that. Male dancer. Once I went and Cassie was slumped over, he said, it's not going to happen this time. Prosecution. Did Mr. Combe offer you drugs? Male dancer. Molly, I guess it's called. I don't do drugs. MDMA, MDA. I think I went out and handed out $100 bills. I don't understand that. Prosecution. How did the Molly make you feel? Male dancer, sick and euphoric, and like an idiot handing out $100 bills. Prosecution. Who else was present? So he says he didn't take the drugs, but then he ended up taking the drugs. Yeah. Molly, I guess so. Why would you take some? Let's continue. Who else was present? Male dancer. A guy who told me he was an actual escort. He was having sex with Cassie at her apartment. Male dancer. The guy was like looking at Sean Combs, and Combs said, don't you be fucking looking at me. Combs. Well, defense, objection, judge. Let's get a fresh question. Prosecution. What did he look like? Male dancer. Black guy, kind of skinny. We exchanged phone numbers. Have you seen him in 10 years? Male dancer. No. Did you ever seem you were not the first person there? Yes. The dancer. Yes. Half used Astroglide towels on the floor. Prosecution. After the $100 bills, did you see them again? Male dancer. I couldn't do it anymore. Comey. Prosecution. What did you get paid when you couldn't perform? Male dancer. Nothing. But I never asked for money. I was happy to get involved with people with such notoriety. But after I saw Sean Combs hit Cassie, I couldn't do it anymore. Mm. 10 hours. 10 hours. Who? If we are all as average folk being so for real, 10 hours is a long time to be drug fueled sex for 10 hours is a bit much. That's a bit much. That's a bit much. Because on average, even with stops and starts and things like that, people go what, 15 minutes? 30 minutes at the most. And again, you talking about stops and changing positions and doing all kinds of stuff. But can y'all imagine 10 fueled hours? I can imagine being dehydrated like you were being dehydrated. But here's the interesting thing. So let's talk about what we heard in this testimony. And let's talk about it in terms of the prosecution's case. So basically what we have gathered is that at the Intercontinental Hotel there was a visual sign of violence, because there was a recording shown that there was visual sign of violence. We had the security guard go down there and show that there was violence and that there was destruction of property. That Cassie did not want, she wanted to leave the place. He did do a visual look at Cassie and saw that she had a black eye and a purple eye. So that tells me that had to have happened during that night fueled of the freak off that happened like 10 hours of, because in Los Angeles, the security guard was alerted, and this was about 11 o'clock in the morning. So the night previously was the freak off. Okay. So Cassie was trying to leave. We did see the video of her leaving and then Diddy assaulting her at the elevator. So apparently they have shown that. So what they have shown, that there was violence there. Now, what we didn't get from the security guard that talked about the violence, he did not talk to the person that was on the inside, because remember, he is being charged with trafficking. And so he is being charged from going from city to city with escorts to have these freak offs. Now, in my head, now, if you all are attorneys or anything like that, let me know. Does it have to be the same person, the same sex worker going from city to city? Does he have to bus in, fly in, go by train, however they get there? I don't care how you get there. Just get here if you can. Does it have to be the same person, or does it have to that they're doing these sexual acts in different cities? Because let me go back, because what we haven't established is if the person in 2016 that was in the room, we don't know who that person was. It hasn't been established that he was the same person in 2013. So this is a whole different person in the 2013 incident. Now, this person in this 2013 incident, he hasn't talked about going to any other state but New York. He's talked about going from the Gramercy Park Hotel. He's talked about going to the Essex House. And he's talked about going to two separate residents that were owned by Diddy and owned by Cassie, according to his testimony. But what he said was that he was paid by Cassie. He said that Cassie was the one that paid him. However, Mr. Combs was the one that was filming them and directing the sexual encounters. You know, with the production of putting in on the baby oil, with talking about role play and how to role play, in positions and all these types of things. Also, that he did testify, according to what we were reading, is that he was offered drugs. They didn't say who offered the drugs, but he was offered drugs, and he talked about how he felt when he was on those drugs. So that's where we are with that. So right now, I mean, they are fans. 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 They are freaky. Yes. But I'm still waiting to see that connection in do we have an escort that did multiple times with these two people and that they got on a plane with, or they were paid, they received payment to get on a plane to go this place, or trains or cars or whatever, and they go from one state to another? Because that's what they're saying, that he's being charged with trafficking. And so that means that you're taking people across the state, because that's what they proved in the R. Kelly incident, that this person was moved over to a different, or they went to this other place and they were doing stuff. So I'm trying to figure out, will they be able to show that they have this person, at least one person that went from one place to another? Now, I don't know if it's something that they go from different places within the state, but so far we have what has been testified to is the violence that happened in 2016 at the Intercontinental Hotel. And what else has been testified to was the fact that there was an escort hired by Cassie to engage in sexual encounters at the Gramercy Hotel, the Essex House, and then the two residents that were stated that were owned by Sean Diddy Combs and owned by Cassie. All right. Hold on. So we got a couple more updates by CNN. Says here that mail 9 minutes ago says mail review manager says that Combs photographed his driver's license as insurance. Daniel Phillips, the mail review manager, testified that Sean Diddy Combs once took a picture of his driver's license and said it was for insurance purposes, and he perceived that as a threat. It says witness says Ventura once appeared to be intoxicated on drugs. Daniel Phillips testified that Cassie Ventura appeared to be intoxicated on drugs once when they met up. Sean Diddy Combs said to him that I don't think this is going to happen today. He testified. Phillips said Ventura was slumped over on a couch. Phillips said he once took Molly, a synthetic drug that Combs offered him. Okay, so it was Diddy that offered the drugs. He said he felt nauseous but euphoric at the same time. So much so that he was handing out $100 bills to the people that he saw. So okay, that puts in perspective. This is the wonderful, like I said, I really wish that we had at the least audio in the courtroom that we can listen to and then kind of go, kind of review, but we're having to just go back through updates. So the New York Times pretty much reports the same thing, but their information that they're saying is that Daniel Phillip, who ran a mail review, said he was paid between about $700 and $6,000 for each encounter with Cassandra Ventura while Sean Combs watched and masturbated. So he was paid in between $700 and $6,000. That's a lot of money. That's a lot of money. And we're talking so we'll average that he probably, and like I said, I don't know how many encounters that he had, but we could probably average that out to maybe like $2,000 an encounter on the average. So according to we like I said, we've talked about 2016 and we've talked about 2012, 2013. So let's get back to the lawsuit. So let's get back to the lawsuit. And so, like I said, we had two incidents. So now we're getting into an incident that they're talking about around August 2015. But let's go back up. Let me go back and finish this. It says frequently. Did we read that? We did. Hold on. Here it is. This is where Mr. Combs would pay the male sex workers a few $1,000s in cash for their services. So that this was testified to by Daniel Phillips. He testified that he received between $700 and $6,000 for his services. It says here in the lawsuit, it says during some freak-offs, Mr. Combs would become extremely intoxicated and would hit Miss Ventura in front of the male sex workers. And that was testified to today by Mr. Daniel uh, Phillips. Miss Ventura was repulsed by Mr. Combs' demands, but between the physical beating and recognizing his incredible power and incredible temper, Miss Ventura became petrified of her partner and boss and felt that she could not say no. He even would present her with lavish gifts prior to or in the middle of the freak off, seemingly acknowledging the ways in which these forced sexual encounters constituted work for Miss Ventura and that he needed to compensate her for this quote work. At one point, he had given her so many designer bracelets for freak offs and immediately following his brutal beatings that she felt that she was shackled by his presence. Frequently, her anxiety before a freak off would become so great that she would become physically ill, sometimes to the point of vomiting. While kneeling over the toilet, Mr. Combs would shame her into performing for him, eventually forcing her to get up and proceed with the encounter. She knew firsthand that telling Mr. Combs that she did not want to engage in freak offs was met with anger and violence. In addition, any suggestion that Miss Ventura would refuse the freak off or otherwise report Mr. Combs' abuse was immediate abuse was met with ultimatums by Mr. Combs, who would say that Miss Ventura could not go to the police because she quote had a lot to lose. All right. So then we're getting to, according to the lawsuit, we're getting around August 2015, for example, in the middle of a surprise birthday dinner for Miss Ventura's 29th birthday, Mr. Combs insisted that Miss Ventura leave the party and go to a hotel for a freak off. When she expressed that she did not want to go, Mr. Combs had Miss Ventura cornered by his security staff in order to force her to leave with him. After this freak off, Mr. Combs and Miss Ventura went back to the hotel room that Miss Ventura was staying in, where some of Miss Ventura's friends were already hanging out. Mr. Combs was severely intoxicated and at one point during the night picked up one of Miss Ventura's friends like a child and dangled the friend over the balcony of the 17th floor hotel suite. Miss Ventura and her friends were scared by Mr. Combs' erratic behavior, but Miss Ventura was heavily sedated because of the drugs she took to participate in the freak off and therefore was unable to respond to Mr. Combs' terrifying behavior. Y'all, we haven't gotten to this yet. I'm going to go back and check because again, so it's about 4:12, so we don't know if they're still let me refresh. See if they're still going. All right. So the question was by the prosecution, what did you get paid when you could not perform? Sorry. So here we are. Let me make sure that y'all are seeing what I see. All right. So here's a question. What did you get paid when you could not perform? Male dancer, nothing. But I never asked for money. I was happy to get involved with people with such notoriety. But after I saw Mr. Combs hit Cassie, I couldn't do it anymore. What was Mr. Combs saying as he met Cassie? Male dancer. He said, "Bitch, when I tell you to come over, you come over. I didn't know what to do." Prosecution, did you intervene? Male dancer, no. I knew that the changes I knew the changes there were bodyguards. There was an objection, there was a sustained. So they didn't go back, finish that. Mr. Comey asked, let me make sure there's nothing. All right. Comey, what's next? Male dancer, he said, "Are you ready to continue?" Prosecution, did you try? Male dancer, I don't recall. Prosecution, did you see them again? Male dancer, I thought I had developed some sort of friendship with Cassie. I may have been speculating. Prosecution. Oh, excuse me, male dancer. I went there. I heard him slapping her. He walked out in a towel. She ran to me. I asked, "Why are you staying with this guy?" There was an objection. Judge ground. Donaldson hearsay. Judge overruled it. So he answered. She said that it was okay. So let's see. Prosecution said nothing further. Judge break before cross. So there is a break. So this was 2 minutes ago. So they're going to come back. So it looks like they're going to go to 5 o'clock or so. I don't know exactly when they're going to. So it looks like they're going to come back. Yeah. All right. Let's see what's going on. Oh my. Let's read these updates by CNN. All right. Mail review manager recalls the moment he saw Combs drag Ventura by her hair. Daniel Phillips recounted one incident where he saw Sean Diddy Combs assault Cassie Ventura at her home. He said, "I was shocked. Ventura was on the computer when Combs shouted at her to come here," Phillips testified. When Cassie responded that her personal information was up on the computer, Combs came out and started dragging her by her hair into her bedroom, Phillips said. He testified Cassie was screaming and repeatedly saying, "I'm sorry," while he heard what sounded like Combs slapping her. Phillips testified he heard Combs say, "Bitch, when I tell you to come here, you come. Now, not later." Phillips testified, "I didn't know what to do. I was shocked. In my mind, it was going through my head. If I tried to do something, I might lose my life." When asked why he didn't report the incident, Phillips said, "My thoughts were that this was someone with unlimited power, and chances are that even if I did go to the police, I might still end up losing my life." At some point, a visibly upset Ventura emerged from the other room. Combs asked if they were ready to continue. Phillips said he couldn't continue after that, though he thought he may have tried to act like everything was okay. He can't remember if he was paid that day. Phillips said he continued to see the couple after that violent incident because he had developed sort of a friendship with Cassie. He was saying, "It was my way of being able to check on her and know she was okay," he said. And then it says that the court is taking a break. Prosecutions have completed their direct examination of Daniel Phillip, who testified he was paid to have sex with Cassie Ventura on several occasions. Cross-examination will begin after the court takes a short break. Let me look and see what the New York Times says. Hold on, y'all. So court gets out at 5 o'clock. So it is 4:18 Eastern Standard Time. So they're on break right now. I don't know if they're going to start their cross. If they're going to start the cross, or would the court just decide to start the cross first thing in the morning? So we will see. Let me see. The New York Times added some information. They said that Daniel Phillip, who was paid for sexual encounters with Cassie Ventura, recalls another time when he heard what sounded like Sean Combs hitting her and Ventura yelling, "I'm sorry." After Combs left a hotel, Ventura ran to Philip and jumped into his lap, he recalled. She was shaking. I asked her, "Why is she doing this? Why is she staying with this guy?" Philip testified. "I tried to explain to her that she was in real danger if she stayed with him," Phillips went on to say. All right. So this is where we are at this moment. And it is a lot. It is a lot. I'm telling y'all. It is a lot. All right. Give me one moment. I'm just going through to see. All right. All right. Sorry about that. So again, whatever we're going to review, continue to just go back over what we've heard, and I'm going to be going back and forth with the lawsuit. So far we have it has correlated with the 2013-2012 incident with Daniel Phillips. They've also had the security guard testify for the 2016 incident. Those things are lining up as far as what she said in the lawsuit. They're able to put that forth to the jury. Again, my question is, from what I understand about the trafficking part of the case, that you have to go over state lines. And I haven't heard them say that. I'm unsure if the 2012, 2013 incidents show him being anywhere outside of the New York area. The only thing that we've heard again is that they were in New York City. They were at 2 different hotels and 2 residents, but haven't heard anything about jumping over to New Jersey, uh, going to Connecticut, Rhode Island, Martha's Vineyard. Yeah, we hadn't heard anything about that yet. So we just heard about it. Like I said, we heard about all right. So while we're waiting for them to come back, let's jump back into the lawsuit. Let's jump back in. So here we are talking about Miss Ventura tries to escape Mr. Combs' abuse. Anytime she tried to create distance between her and Mr. Combs, he used his network to find her and convinced her to return to his abuse. On multiple occasions, Mr. Combs sent his employees to lure Miss Ventura back. In 2011, During a rough patch in Mr. Combs and Miss Ventura's relationship, Miss Ventura had a brief relationship with musician Kid Cudi. When Mr. Combs returned from a trip, he demanded another freak off of Miss Ventura. She acquiesced. She said no. She acquiesced. She said, yeah. During this freak off, Mr. Ventura found Miss Ventura's phone and found emails between her and Kid Cudi. Mr. Combs became enraged and proceeded to place a manual corkscrew between his fingers and lunge at Miss Ventura. Miss Ventura ran away to stay at Kid Cudi's home to escape Mr. Ventura, to escape his wrath. Soon thereafter, one of Mr. Combs' staff members told Miss Ventura that he needed to just talk to Mr. That she told Miss Ventura that she needed to talk to Mr. Combs, even though Mr. Combs was enraged. Feeling like she could not escape Mr. Combs and his network of enforcers, Miss Ventura returned to Mr. Combs. He hit her several times, then kicked her in the back as she tried to run out the door. She went to her parents' home in Connecticut, where her mother took pictures of the bruises Mr. Combs had left on her body. In February 2012, during Paris Fashion Week, Mr. Combs told Miss Ventura that he was going to blow up Kid Cudi's car and that he wanted to ensure that Kid Cudi was home with his friends when it happened. Around that time, Kid Cudi's car exploded in his driveway. Miss Ventura was terrified as she began to fully comprehend what Mr. Combs was both willing and able to do to those he believed had slighted him. Do we think Kid Cudi is going to come and testify about his car blowing up in the yard, in the driveway? Do we think that there's evidence to show that Mr. Combs had directed someone to have the car blown up? Because we know that his car did blow up. We need to figure out how they're going to correlate that this is what happened. And also remember that according to Inner City Press, where they were told that this meal was going to consist of an appetizer, main course, and dessert, it has been stripped down to maybe just the main course. So I'm wondering, is this going to be considered a main course? Are they going to be able to find the people who actually blew up the car? Or do we have anybody witness to him saying that he had the car blown up? So let's continue. I'm wondering, I know Cassie's supposed to testify. I wonder if her parents are going to testify to this right here. Because in my mind, I knew my parents. If they had seen any of this on me, there would be me no going back. But that's my parents. In February 2012, during Paris Fashion Week, Mr. Combs told Miss Ventura that he was going. Well, we read that. Around that time, the car. So here we go. In 2015, this is where we left off. In 2015, Miss Ventura spoke to a popular music manager at an after party in a hotel suite in Las Vegas. Mr. Combs saw her speaking to this manager and sternly told her to step into the bedroom adjoining the suite. In the bedroom, Mr. Combs beat Miss Ventura severely. She ran from corner to corner of the room trying to avoid Mr. Combs beating and kicking. When she tried to lock herself in the bathroom, he pushed through and punched and kicked her while she was curled up under the toilet. Her screams were drowned out by the loud music playing in the outside area of the hotel suite. When Mr. Combs, head of security and assistants, saw Miss Ventura after the assault, they began to cry. Miss Ventura had two black eyes, a burst and bruised lip, and a huge welt on her forehead. Upon seeing the results of his vicious attack, Mr. Combs immediately took steps to conceal his wrongdoing. He forced Miss Ventura to stay at his home in Homely Hills, along with one of his sons. He forced Miss Ventura to stay at his home in Homely Hills, along with one of his sons. While there, Mr. Combs FaceTimed Miss Ventura and stated, "You got to go up and put more makeup on. My son can't see you like that." Let's go back up here. Miss Ventura had two black eyes, a burst and bruised lip, and a huge welt on her forehead. And his response was that she got to put on makeup because her son can't see her like that. She did put makeup on per Mr. Combs' demands. Miss Ventura felt that she had no choice but to obey her abuser, even though security guards, assistants, and friends saw the situation she was in, and no one dared help or speak up upon her behalf. She therefore had no choice but to remain subservient. It would be interesting because, again, the prosecution has called the security guard from the 2016 incident, and they called one of the escorts from the 2013 freak off in New York at the Gramercy Hotel. I'm interested to see if they're going to call this, if they're going to call any witnesses to this particular incident. Says here, later in 2015, while shooting a movie in Cape Town, South Africa, she began a flirtatious relationship with an actor. She spent New Year's Eve with this actor, but Mr. Combs soon found out. Mr. Combs called the actor and threatened him. The actor proceeded to call Miss Victoria and tell her, "You really need to call Mr. Combs." Now, we found out during voir dire that the particular actor was supposed to have been Michael B. Jordan. And if you watch my video that I have done, go back and watch my playlist of celebrity legal news. I did a video in regards to this. My weekly recap, my last week weekly recap of the week one of the Sean Diddy Combs trial, and we played some videos that we found from like TMZ back in 2015, where Michael B. Jordan tried to go into a party that was hosted by Diddy, and he was turned away. And then you can tell that there was some kind of humiliation situation going on, because first, when he didn't get in, Michael B. Jordan claimed that the venue was over capacity. And then he was leaving. Then someone came running out of the door saying, "Well, Mr. Combs wants you to come back in." So then when he goes to go back in, they still wouldn't let him in. Now, the people who were at the door, the person that ran to go get him was the person that was at the door saying that you can't come in. And then now Mr. Combs says you can come in. Now, all of this happened around the same time, around this 2015, 2016 area BT. So all of this happened around that particular time. So it will be interesting. Will they call him? will they call Michael B. Jordan to come testify? I don't think so. Because again, we heard that where we thought that there was going to be an appetizer, a main course, and some dessert, that the prosecution has stripped this thing down to just the main course. And like I said, we're listening to the stuff that they've done. And right now, I haven't heard. We've heard about the abuse, and he has copped to that. We now we're hearing about the freak offs and all the stuff that they do with the freak offs. But we did hear that Mr. Combs was providing drugs for this freak off. But we also heard from the testimony of Daniel that Cassie was the one that was paying him. So we will continue. And this part of the thing, this is the 2016 Intercontinental situation. So we're not going to reread this. And then we read about James Cruz. So I'm interested to see if we're going to get any of the employees testifying to anything in regards to this. So 2017, 2018. We'll probably read over this tomorrow. We'll read over that. Let's go back and see, because we'll probably read more over this lawsuit. Like I said, we'll just do it in between as we're going back and forth between the information. And probably when I start this tomorrow, I will start probably at lunchtime once they take that lunchtime break, and then start from the morning and go to the bathroom. So then we won't have so many pauses and breaks and things like that in between. So let's see if they have come back, because right now it's 4:35. So it looks like they're having a sidebar. All right. So the judge says that, let me make sure that y'all are reading what I'm reading. And so the inner city press just kind of updated that the male dancer's name was Daniel Phillips. We knew that from CNN, and we knew that from the New York Times. Says the judge, welcome back the jurors. And he says, but can I have the lawyers for a sidebar? They have a sidebar. The judge tells Mr. Phillips that you're still under oath. Xavier Donaldson for the defense says, let me show you a text message change between you and Cassie. Is it accurate? Daniel Phillips says yes. The defense says, you were working for a service? And he responds, a male review show. Let's see, this may be some offensive stuff. Yeah. We've got an update with CNN. And they just basically say the same thing, that he calls the attorneys to a sidebar. All right, so here we go. We've got some more information in regards to the testimony. And you remember I said that he was paid as much as $6,000 per encounter. It says Sean Combs was present for these encounters, usually sitting in a corner masturbating. During more than an hour of explicit testimony, Phillips described a number of incidents of violence. He said that Combs once threw a liquor bottle at Ventura when she did not immediately go to him when called, and that he had heard Combs beating her in a room and Ventura crying. Combs also took pictures of his ID for insurance, which Phillips said he viewed as a threat. During his testimony, Combs's three daughters who were present left the courtroom. It says here inside the courtroom, so they're giving us some courtroom information. It says inside the courtroom, Sean Combs is sitting back in his chair, his body visibly tense as a witness testifies in detail about getting paid to have sex with Cassandra Ventura in front of him. Combs' three daughters that are present have at times left the courtroom doing explicit testimony about sex. His sons have been sitting stone-faced, at times passing notes to each other. They had expected that Cassie was going to testify today, but like I said, that they're going, court adjourns at 5 o'clock. It's already 4:40, so we probably get one more update, and they may be working to try to rest to get this particular witness off the stand. But I do appreciate the testimony. I do appreciate the New York Times, for telling us how things are going on in the courtroom. And I would be interested to see if the reactions, because I think his mother is in there too. I definitely would be interested to see the reactions of all of that's going on in there as well. Mm, mm, mm. Mm. Tracy said, "Wow." It is a lot. It is a lot. It is a lot going on in there. It's a lot going on in there. And like I said, we probably will have another update, because like I said, they've got like 20 more minutes of court, and they probably have a few more questions, and then they will rest. We will check to make sure when they update what updates that they have. Ooh, I don't see them lasting any longer than this. And like I said, I don't want to go over or get ahead of ourselves, because I want to kind of match up with what she wrote, what was explained to us in her lawsuit that she filed, her civil lawsuit against Diddy, and them matching up and see what they're presenting in court. And so far, like I said before, and I probably have repeated this ad nauseum, that they've gone over the violence at 2016. We didn't hear from the escort at the 2016 incident, because again, the security guard didn't get that man's information, so we don't know who that person is, or if that person has come forward to discuss anything. But we do have the escort from the 2012-2013 that is on the stands right now. We're supposed to get Cassie. Cassie is supposed to testify after this. I think personally, I would get probably a couple more people on there before I'd get her on there. If they could get a person that can show that they went from one state to the other, because that's the thing, that I don't know why that's a stickler point for me. Them being fans, freaky folk, is not a big thing for me. I don't care about people being freaky. Now I am surprised at the level and the depth of the freakiness. But it doesn't surprise me because all folks have whatever predilections that they have. Uh that's not an issue for me. But what I am interested in is, again, going across these state lines is what I'm interested in. And also I'm interested in for these employees to talk about them doing things for Diddy. These employees talking about doing things for Diddy. So again, they've got him for racketeering, sex trafficking, and transportation to engage in prosecution. So racketeering is activity defined as series of criminal acts included but not limited to murder, kidnapping, extortion, arson, and other offenses. So I guess with the Kid Cudi incident, that's the arson. Kidnapping, extortion, and other offenses. I don't know what the other offenses could be. The RICO Act. So this means that multiple criminal acts must be committed over a period of time, and the enterprise's activity must have some connection to interstate or foreign commerce. So the criminal enterprise is a group of people or entities formally or informally organized, working together to engage in a criminal activity. So from looking at the lawsuit, it seems like him having the executives call her to tell her to come back or to threaten that they were not going to put a record out. Would that be part of the criminal enterprise? 2 or more predicate acts of racketeering actively committed within a 10-year period. Okay. Connection to interstate commerce. The enterprise's activity must affect interstate or foreign commerce. All right. So here's examples. I don't know if y'all are seeing this. Let me. So I'm over here. So I'm just reading. I just Googled federal definition of racketeering. And so it says examples of racketeering activity: extortion, obtaining something of value through force or threat. So I guess obtaining sex through force or threat. Money laundering, concealing the source of illegally obtained funds. Embezzlement, stealing or misappropriating funds entrusted into one's care. Fraud, deceiving someone for financial gain. Bribery, giving or receiving something of value to influence someone's actions, drug trafficking, illegally distributing or possessing drugs. I guess that would be the mollies. Engaging in the criminal activity as part of the structured group. I think that that's going back to what she said in the lawsuit in regards to having music executives call her, or some of his attorney calling, or all those things to have her to come back to then face the violence. Okay. So we hadn't had any updates. Let's see. All right, let's go here. All right, let's go with this text chain. We'll go back and let me share this. Make sure you all see what I'm looking at. Let me see. No, he has. The trial just started today. Possibly. We're only in the first day of actual testimony, so we hadn't gotten into any of all of this stuff, even if they're going to get into all of this stuff, because like I said, it's let's continue. So the judge says, Mr. Phillips, you're still under oath. Mr. Donaldson for the defense says, let me show you a text message change between you and Cassie. Is it accurate? Mr. Phillips says yes. The defense says you are working for a service, a male review show. The defense says you were a manager, a male stripper for women. He says, the witness says yes. The defense says prostitution was prohibited. Mr. Phillips says that is correct. The defense says your job was to build it up. Phillips says yes and no. The defense says I'll go with the yes. And there was an objection by the prosecution, and the judge sustained it. So then the defense says, did the company open fake businesses to optimize search results? Daniel Phillips says fake addresses, it was just SEO. And Donaldson says, who is the defense, says you went to optimize the lady's experience. Daniel Phillips, I have no idea what you mean. It's just our slogan. So then they're going, let's see. Interpress says, Cassie told you to say the name Black. Phillips says yes. Your boss told you someone wanted a black male stripper. He said yes. The defense says, let me show you. The prosecution says this shouldn't be put on screen. Donaldson, take it off, take it off. Ooh, what was on the screen? What was on the screen, y'all? What was on the screen? She was wearing, okay. What was on the screen? Okay. Combs, Donaldson, she was wearing a wig. Phillips says yes. Was she handed you money? Phillips said yes. Phillips says she handed me $4,000. Before any oil rubbing? The answer correct. She had on heels, Philip, and dark glasses. Donaldson said, where did the money come from? And he says her hand. And I don't think that there's any more information. All right. So I don't see any updates. All right. Here we go. We got an update. So Xavier Donaldson has started his cross-examination today. Phillips testified on cross-exam that he wasn't an active stripper or dancer when his boss asked him to go meet Cassie Ventura and Sean Diddy Combs for the first time. He testified that he would sometimes fill in as was needed, and that day his boss said that there was a request for a black male stripper and no one else available to fit that description. He thought he was going to strip for a bachelorette party. All right, we got a little update. Let me share this. So we talked about handing the money. So then the question was, you were wearing a New York City Police Department uniform, right? Mr. Phillips, I bought an NYPD t-shirt. You took the oil off in front of Cassie? The oil? No, I took my clothes off. She said it's my birthday. And so we don't have any more updates after that. All right. So we've already established there's some freaky folks. Yeah. So what's happening is that in federal court, you can't have electronic devices. You can't film and you can't record sound in federal court cases. So what happens is that the court reporters are having to uh, tweet it or send out notices as the people are speaking. So that's what we're doing. We're getting the updates from that, and that's what I'm reading. So I have 3 different court reporters. So I have the Inner City Press, I have CNN, and I have the New York Times that are there, that they are pretty much updating their information as it goes. And we are at 4:56, so it's only 4 more minutes. I don't think that we're going to get any more information coming out of court right now. If they're going to continue to have this man on the stand, uh yeah, if they're going to continue to have this man on the stand, I think that they probably have found a place to stop. And so we will get back to this tomorrow. Let me make sure my other places that I have the updates. I was going to New York Times on my phone. All right, so here's the update for the New York Times. It says Xavier Donaldson, a new addition to Sean Combs' defense team, has started his cross-examination of Daniel Phillip, who said he was repeatedly paid to have sex with Cassandra Ventura. While Combs watched, Donaldson is focusing on the review show of male strippers that Phillips managed, underscoring that it prohibited prostitution. They said that there's been a strange and argumentative back and forth between Sean Combs' lawyer, Xavier Donaldson and Daniel Phillips over whether Phillips viewed his job as to optimize the ladies' night experience. Hmm. And that looks like the last update because, like I said, it is 2 minutes to 5 there. So they may update just to kind of go over what happened in the last 5 or 10 minutes. But I don't see anybody. I don't even see CNN doing an update. Their last update was 6 minutes ago. Oh, excuse me. So we're not seeing anything else coming up through here. So I don't see anything else coming up through here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and end the live. I'll wait about a couple of minutes. Does anybody else have any questions going on through here? Because like I said, it's tomorrow, me going over this case. I'll put the post up that I won't start until about noon. So when they go to lunch, I'll start with the morning's testimony, and then we'll go through that, juxtapose it against the lawsuit. And so by the time that we get to the afternoon thing, we'll go through that, and there won't be as many gaps and as many breaks as it is trying to fill up space for them to come through with the information. So I don't see any updated information. So we're going to go ahead and conclude the live. And again, I'll put the notice up so that you'll know that I'll be going back live tomorrow at about noon. So that will probably get, like I said, we'll get through the morning testimony, juxtapose it with the lawsuit, and we're going to see if Cassie is going to testify tomorrow, because they'll probably still go over this information with Daniel Phillip. They'll go through the information from that. Hopefully we'll have the court illustrator have pictures completed so we can kind of get a visual aid of who we're talking about, and we'll go from there. We'll refresh it one more time. I'm just going to refresh all my feeds. All right, so here we go. It says Donaldson then goes back to ask Phillips. It appears she is enjoying herself. They must be showing a video. Daniel Phillips says yes. Question, what was your position? Philip, missionary. I was like, did that just happen? Donaldson, she asked you for a photo. Phillips, I don't know if Sean Combs asked for it. Judge, ignore that. The judge says we'll pick up here tomorrow. And so, yeah, they've adjourned for court right now, and we will adjourn this live. Let me make sure, because I want to because sometimes because he's in there typing as we go, just want to check. Aha, here we go. So here's the update from the New York Times. It says the defense is asking Daniel Phillips about every detail of his first sexual encounter with Cassie Ventura at the Gramercy Park Hotel over a decade ago. Phillips testified that he thought he had been hired to dance for a bachelorette party, but Ventura answered the door alone, wearing a wig and sunglasses. Donaldson Sunglasses. Donaldson seems to be trying to highlight moments when Ventura was a willing participant in and initiator of the sex. It appears that she's enjoying herself. Would that be fair to say? Donaldson said, would ask. Phillips replied, yes. The court has adjourned for the day, and Daniel Phillips will take the stand tomorrow. And definitely, we will definitely go over that testimony tomorrow. Again, I'm going to put the notice up that I will start my live probably around 12, and then we'll go, like I said, we'll go over the morning testimony up into lunch, and then that should take us through part of the afternoon testimony. Hopefully we'll have Cassie to have start to testify tomorrow, or we don't know who's really going to testify tomorrow. And again, we'll juxtapose it from what was written in this court, what was written in the lawsuit. All right, people, we do this every week. Please like, comment, and subscribe. Please share this video if you care. Y'all, please tell a friend, tell a kin, tell a coworker, tell that heifer that you can't stand that I'm over here making these videos. And as always, people, I'm gonna say it. Give me 1 second. Bye-bye. Just checking for the last update. We don't have a last update. So we're going to sign off. Bye-bye.